Hey guys, just a really quick sort of public service announcement type video here to share some information with you guys about something that I only just found out about this week, but something which has been in the game for like two and a half years now, and I had no idea. When I started modding, it was probably 2.5 years ago, probably maybe a little sooner than that, but I wasn't very good back then, that's for sure. I've learned a lot since then, and I had no idea this existed. I don't talk to a lot of other modders, so maybe that's my fault. I don't hang out in modding communities that much anymore, now that I sort of know what I'm doing. Just because I'm an introvert and I've got my own things going on and my own work to do. I have barely any free time as it is to work on my own projects. But I missed this completely. So just straight up, let me tell you what it is. It is that since DayZ update 1.21, config mods now auto-generates a static script define, which is loaded before script compilation begins. I can't believe I didn't know about this. This is like, honestly, I have mixed feelings about this. I'm so excited to have found this, and I'm also so heartbroken that I didn't find it sooner. It would have saved me so much frustration and complexity in some of my mods. If you don't know what a script define is, let me bring up an example. So here's a mod that I'm working on that requires, or doesn't require, it has a feature that depends on expansion base building territories. So if expansion base building territories is present, that mod is present, I want to be able to have a config option that allows admins to say players can only remove certain objects in their territory. So stones, fallen trees, bushes. This mod, by the way, is based on this clean and build mod is fantastic by this mod author. Go and check it out if you haven't seen it yet. But it has some sync issues to the client. It doesn't sync to the client properly. So I started my own project from scratch based on that idea with totally unique code that I wanted to take my approach to this concept. And one of the things I want to do is make it so you can only remove objects, clutter objects around your own base if you have a territory. But I don't want to add DayZ expansion base building mod, or whatever the mod's called, to my explicit required add-ons so that players need to have that mod in order to run my mod. I want it to be an optional feature. Now expansion do have defines defined in their mod, but the problem with defines defined within a mod is that it is a little bit finicky with mod load order. So when you load into a game, the order your mods are in can affect which mods are loaded first, and then some of these mods might require each other, and so some, a mod down here might get loaded before a mod up here, and there's no guarantee that the mod you need is going to load before your mod so that the define tags within that mod will be usable by your mod. This changes everything. This static define before script compilation begins means we can add mod code that is dependent on other mods being present, and it will compile just fine no matter what. So a good example of this is this mod here that I'm working on. Just to test this out, I added in if expansion base building is found. Now this is not the same define as expansion mod base building, which I think I'm pretty sure that's the define within the expansion mods themselves. This is literally just the mod name. So down here I also have one for Dab's framework that I was playing around with, using some of his code to test something out that I was trying to work on. And this is not a define within Dab's framework. This is the actual name of his config mods. So reading this, config mods now auto-generates a static script define before compilation begins. This is config mods. This is the script define. And so on any server that boots up with this mod added to the mod list, no matter what order it's in, no matter what mod loads first, we'll have access to this define. And within this define, we can do all kinds of things. So now I can add expansion territory functionality to my mod without depending on mod load order, and I can do the same for Dab's framework or any other mod on the workshop, no matter what it is. Now in a different video, I'll show you guys how to decompile mods so that you can actually find this class name. That's a subject entirely of its own, and it has its own things I want to talk about in terms of ethics and not stealing other people's code and respecting authors' copyright and requests. There are some mods out there that are obfuscated and might be a little bit trickier to find this. Usually you can still find it, but there are ways I'll talk about that in a different lesson or a different video. I just threw together a really quick mod that you guys can download and add to your server mod pack that will print the config mods for you. You can find it on my GitHub. There'll be a link to this below. You can just simply click on this link here or download the source code to see the code yourself. We'll come to releases and you can download the PBO file directly from here, add it to your mod list on your local server or your dedicated server and run your server, and you'll get this print log, which lists the config mod class children. And these are all the defines you can use to do an ifdef. So you can just copy that ifdef into your mod and you've got the condition for interacting with that mod if it is present in the server mod list, and if it's not present, the code in between gets ignored completely. One last thing I want to mention is the update here also includes the ability to define your defines in a text array within the config mods class. So here's an example, a mod I've been working on for my server. I've got config mods, the name of my mod, and then this defines array. And I can use this defines array in any mod. So here's a test I did, and if I bring up my server logs and search for that text, there it is. The most obvious use case for this that comes to mind is having something like your mod name debug logs, and then you could use that define to have debug messages all through your script, and then when you are finished creating your mod, you simply comment that out, recompile your mod, and your debug prints will no longer compile in the mod, and your mod's optimized for release. So this is a pretty powerful feature. Again, I'm annoyed I didn't find this sooner. That's my fault. So if you're new to DayZ modding, at least now you know how to use this. By the way, I've mentioned this in other videos, but there are a bunch of other inbuilt defines like server that you can use. In some instances, this can be more efficient than doing things like if get game.isServer. And if you don't want a define to be present, you can use ifdef. So this will say if not defined. So if this define does not exist, then this code runs. For those of you who did not know about this either, or for newer modders, this is a big deal. Get into a habit of using this if you can, or if you need to, if it makes sense for you to do so. And I'll show you guys examples of how to use this in practical ways in future lessons. For now, just wanted to make you aware of it. Ifdef, ModName, code within this tag will only run if that mod is present on the server's mod list or the client's mod list. Good luck out there, survivors.